Chapter 1023. She could clearly sense that Lu Ming did not have the slightest bit of spiritual fire. This was very rare. Ordinary martial artists would cultivate spiritual fire as an auxiliary martial art. However, she could not sense any spiritual fire on Lu Ming. Yet, Lu Ming's eyesight was extremely terrifying. He could see through the weakness of the formation immediately. Even she could not do better than him. That was why she was even more curious. You immediately hid your appearance and changed your appearance to hide from me. Unfortunately, it's not that easy to hide from me. Sandalwood Fairy pursed her lips and smiled charmingly. Lu Ming rushed out of the canyon and let out a long breath. With his current combat strength, he was not afraid of Sandalwood Fairy. However, he was in the wrong. Moreover, this was Pill City, the territory of Medicine King Valley. If he was discovered by the Medicine King Valley's level 8 inscriptionists, he would be in deep trouble. You bastard, I won't care about you anymore. Lu Ming glanced at Dandan. Kid, what did you say? Why didn't you say that when I found a treasure like the Na Yuan pill for you? Dandan glared at Lu Ming and bared his teeth. Lu Ming was silent and speechless. Indeed, Dandan had helped Lu Ming a lot at times. However, he was also the one who caused trouble. Kid, now that I've obtained the spiritual medicine, I'll be able to recover faster. Once I'm fully recovered, I'll be able to dominate the world. At that time, not to mention martial emperors, I'll be able to kill even stronger opponents with a single slap. When that time comes, there will be countless people who want to curry favor with me. You won't have a chance, Dandan said proudly. Oh. How long will it take for you to fully recover? What level of spiritual medicine do you need? Lu Ming asked. I don't know. As for spiritual medicine, if you want me to fully recover, mere spiritual medicine is useless. I need stronger treasures, such as sacred medicine. Dandan muttered. Die. Lu Ming immediately despised him. What was the use of saying so much? Holy medicine? What was a panacea? That was a legendary supreme treasure, an unparalleled treasure. Even if a ruler saw it, he would go crazy over it. In terms of level, it was something that completely surpassed a ruler. Above level 9 spirit medicine was the saint medicine. The man and the tortoise bickered as they returned to the inn. Then, Lu Ming threw Dandan into the mountain and river diagram, and Lu Ming continued to cultivate. Early the next morning, Lu Ming, Chu Kuang, and Zhong Wenjing headed towards the Pill King Courtyard. The Pill King Courtyard was located in the west of Pill City. It was very famous and everyone in Pill City knew about it. There were people from the Medicine King Valley guarding the entrance of the Elixir King Courtyard. However, after Chu Kuang revealed his identity, they naturally did not stop him and the three of them entered the Elixir King Courtyard. Inside the Pill King Courtyard, the fragrance of herbs assailed the nostrils. Every blade of grass, every tree, and every flower were spirit herbs. Many of the buildings were built like pill furnaces. Their shapes were simple and unadorned, and they were filled with the aura of time. There were colorful butterflies and bees fluttering in the flowers, gathering pollen for the spirit flowers. These colorful butterflies and bees were not ordinary insects. They were all exotic species. For example, every single one of those bees was a level 5 demon beast, equivalent to a king realm cultivator. The honey they brewed in the future was a type of treasure medicine that was priceless. Entering the Elixir King Courtyard and smelling the fragrance of herbs made one feel refreshed and their breathing smooth. If an ordinary person entered here and stayed in this environment for a few days, it was guaranteed that they would not be plagued by illness and would live a long life. Lu Ming clicked his tongue in wonder. This Medicine King Valley was the same as the Talisman Puppet sect. They were both great sects of the Tao of Inscription. However, the Talisman Puppet sect was more inclined towards talismans and puppets, while the Medicine King Valley was more inclined towards alchemy. Moreover, their fates were very similar to the Talisman Puppet sect. There was once a ruler overseeing both of them, but now the ruler had passed away. In fact, the Talisman Puppet sect could no longer be considered an overlord force because there was no ruler overseeing it. Lu Ming looked around carefully and walked a few rounds in the courtyard. When they arrived at a courtyard, it was already filled with people. They were all young people, and he didn't see any older generation figures. There were around 10 tables with around 80 to 90 people. At the side, there were disciples of the Medicine King Valley walking around and serving jugs of fine wine. Someone was already impatiently pouring out the fine wine. Instantly, the fragrance of the wine assailed the nose and drifted in all directions. Good wine, it's really good wine. Chu Kuang's nose twitched as his eyes lit up. It's indeed good wine, Lu Ming praised. Before drinking it, Lu Ming could feel that it was absolutely good wine. Moreover, there were many types of spirit herbs in the wine. It was absolutely not ordinary wine. Brother Lu, this is the outer courtyard. Third-grade prodigies and above should be in the inner courtyard. Chu Kuang transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. So that's how it is. Lu Ming suddenly understood. No wonder he didn't see any famous prodigies here, let alone second-grade prodigies like Fairy Sandalwood, Jing Kongling, and Jun Yu. It turned out that there was an inner courtyard and an outer courtyard. Obviously, only third-grade prodigies and above could enter the inner courtyard. Chu Kuang, Zhong Wenjing, and Lu Ming walked towards the front door, attracting many people's attention. That's Chu Kuang and Zhong Wenjing. I'm so envious. Third-grade prodigies and above can enter the inner courtyard and drink with peerless beauties like Fairy Sandalwood and Jing Kongling. I heard the inner courtyard's fine wine is even more precious. Hey, who's that kid? How come I've never seen him before? He dares to enter the inner courtyard, be careful not to be kicked out. In the end, many people looked at Lu Ming with some surprise. Because they felt that Lu Ming was a stranger, as if they had never seen him before. Only Hai Ziming, Ling Yunkong, and the other floating Sky Mountains prodigies remained calm. They were clear that Lu Ming was definitely a third-grade prodigy. Of course, Lu Ming heard these words as well. He ignored them and walked through the main door into the inner courtyard. There was a small lake in the inner courtyard, and the environment was more elegant and unique. There was a pavilion beside the small lake, and in the pavilion, there was a table. There were only 6 people sitting around the table. Fairy Sandalwood, Jing Kongling, Jun Yu, Yin Bupo, and Sanguinarum. In addition, there was a young man in white who Lu Ming had never seen before, but needless to say, he was also a second-grade prodigy. Otherwise, he wouldn't be qualified to sit at that table. Below the pavilion, there were 2 tables with more than a dozen young people sitting at them. These people were obviously third-grade prodigies. So it's Brother Chu and Miss Zhong. Please come in. Fairy Sandalwood waved her hand slightly and smiled. When her gaze turned to Lu Ming, a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes, and then the corners of her mouth curved into a smile. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly restrained his aura, not looking at Fairy Sandalwood. Ha ha, Chu Kuang, long time no see. I wonder if your strength has improved recently. At this time, an arrogant voice sounded. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice and saw that it was a young man in a blood-red robe. He had a burly figure and an arrogant expression, sitting between the 2 tables below. Huang Kuei, you were just lucky to win the Battle of Providence. Don't talk about it every day, Chu Kuang said coldly with an ugly expression. Lucky? Hehe, you really know how to flatter yourself. Chapter 1024. Huang Kuei sneered at Lu Ming with a look of disdain. Lu Ming frowned slightly. He didn't say a word when he came in, but Huang Kuei took the initiative to talk to him. Huang Kuei, Brother Lu is qualified to enter this place, Chu Kuang said with a sullen face. Ha ha, qualified? Do you think you're qualified? If that's the case, anyone can bring someone in. Are there any rules? Huang Kuei sneered, then looked at Sandalwood Fairy and said, Fairy, I suggest we drive this person out. However, before Huang Kuei could finish, Sandalwood Fairy raised her hand slightly and interrupted Huang Kuei. Brother Huang, you don't have to say anything more. I know Brother Lu. He's qualified to enter this place. The crisp voice spread throughout the entire area, causing many people's eyes to move. They were somewhat surprised. Sandalwood Fairy actually knew this young man with the surname Lu. Where did he come from? Was he also a third-class Sky Pride? Why hadn't they seen him in the Battle of Providence? Many questions arose in everyone's mind. Huang Kuei's face stiffened, then turned red. He was so embarrassed that he wanted to die. Previously, he was scolding Lu Ming loudly, saying that Lu Ming was a good-for-nothing who was not qualified. However, in the next moment, Sandalwood Fairy directly said that she knew Lu Ming and that Lu Ming was qualified. This was equivalent to slapping him in the face in public. He was burning with anger and was very dissatisfied with Sandalwood Fairy, but he didn't dare to show it. It's all because of Chu Kuang and this kid who embarrassed me. Huang Kuei didn't dare to be dissatisfied with Sandalwood Fairy, so he could only transfer his anger to Lu Ming and Chu Kuang. He picked up the wine glass and took a sip, his eyes cold. Chu Kuang and Zhong Wenjing were also a little stunned. Sandalwood Fairy actually knew Lu Ming? Could it be that Lu Ming and Sandalwood Fairy were old acquaintances? Everyone had different thoughts. Even Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. Could it be that I've been recognized? Lu Ming couldn't help but think. Brother Lu, please take a seat. Sandalwood Fairy waved her hand and smiled sweetly, pointing at their table. This time, the scene exploded, and everyone's expression changed. What? Sandalwood Fairy asked this Lu guy to sit at the top table. That table is reserved for second-tier prodigies. Does this Lu guy have the right to sit there? How is that possible? How many second-class prodigies were there? I didn't even see him in the Battle of Providence. How can he be a second-tier genius? Then why did Sandalwood Fairy call him to the seat of honor? Many third-class prodigies were discussing in low voices. However, everyone had a doubtful look on their faces. Even Jing Kongling, Yin Bupo, Jun Yu, and the others were startled as they looked at Lu Ming curiously. On the other hand, Chu Kuang and Zhong Wenjing's expressions were even more interesting. Lu Ming himself was also a little stunned. Brother Lu, please. Sandalwood Fairy extended another invitation. All right, Lu Shaoqing thanks Fairy. Lu Ming clasped hands and stepped forward, not bothering to be courteous. This brat really went up. He really dares to go up. Does he really think that he can stand shoulder to shoulder with a second-class prodigy? Lu Ming's action caused another round of discussion in low voices. This brat, Huang Kuei's face turned even uglier. Lu Ming didn't care about the gazes around him as he stepped forward. He was now certain that Sandalwood Fairy had recognized him. Since she had recognized him, he could only face it. At worst, he would just have to compensate Sandalwood Fairy with those spiritual herbs. Brat, get lost. This is not a place for you to come up. Just as Lu Ming stepped onto the pavilion, a cold voice rang in Lu Ming's ears. It was a voice transmission, so no one else could hear it. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows and looked at someone. Sanguinarum. It was Sanguinarum who had spoken just now. At this moment, Sanguinarum stared at Lu Ming in an unfriendly manner. Lu Ming sneered. Then, he ignored Sanguinarum and continued to step forward. He came to the table in the pavilion and sat down on an empty chair. He completely ignored Sanguinarum. This made Sanguinarum's face turn ugly. A trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Jing Kongling, Jun Yu, and the others also looked at Lu Ming curiously. It's about time. Let's not wait any longer. Serve the wine now. Sandalwood Fairy's voice rang out. Then, she clapped her hands gently. A few young women brought pots of wine. A small pot of wine was placed in front of each of them. The first wine is called Heart-Burning Flame. Everyone, please try it. Sandalwood Fairy said coquettishly. As soon as Sandalwood Fairy finished speaking, someone couldn't wait to pour the wine and drink it in one gulp. Lu Ming also poured a cup for himself. When the wine was poured into the cup, a layer of flame seemed to appear on the surface of the wine, dancing in the cup. What a wonderful wine, Lu Ming praised in his heart. Then, he picked up the cup and drank it in one gulp. The wine was mellow and sweet, but when it slid down his throat and into his stomach, it was like a flame that burned fiercely. In particular, there was a heat that flowed into his heart. Lu Ming felt that his heart was burning, but he didn't feel the slightest pain. Instead, he felt warm and comfortable all over his body. This wine can also burn and condense one's true yuan. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. He found that his true yuan was slightly more condensed. Good wine. Lu Ming couldn't help but pour another cup and drink it again. Then, Lu Ming poured a few more cups. Soon, the pot of wine was finished. Lu Ming licked his lips, looking like he hadn't had enough. The others were similar. Even some of the women, who usually didn't drink much, drank it all. Good wine, heart-burning flame. It really lives up to its name. Next to Lu Ming, a young man in white sighed. This person was a peerless genius of the World Academy, Kong Xin. It really is good wine, Jun Yu also praised. His body faintly flashed with a demonic light, his aura threatening. It's good that everyone likes it. My sister's efforts were not in vain. Next, I invite everyone to taste the second wine, Sandalwood Fairy chuckled. Then, she clapped her hands. Another young woman brought up the wine, and everyone still had a pot. This wine is called Clear Spirit Dew, Sandalwood Fairy introduced. With the previous heart-burning flame wine, many people couldn't wait and began to drink. Lu Ming poured a cup and drank it in one gulp. This wine gave off a completely different feeling from the previous heart-burning flame wine. When this wine entered the stomach, a cold feeling spread throughout the body and finally gathered in the mind. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt his mind become incomparably clear. His thoughts were active, several times stronger than usual. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He carefully sensed the concept of earth. He discovered that his comprehension of the concept was several times faster. This wine could actually increase a martial artist's comprehension ability. Of course, this was temporary. The wine was fused with spirit pills. Once the medicinal efficacy wore off, the effects would naturally disappear. But it was still amazing enough. If consumed for a long time, one's cultivation speed would definitely be greatly enhanced. One cup after another, the entire pot of wine was quickly emptied. Chapter 1025. The wine brewed by Sandalwood Fairy is really rare. I'm so lucky today. Haha, yes. If others knew about this, they would be so envious. The youths began to flatter Sandalwood Fairy, hoping to get her attention. Since everyone is in such high spirits, why don't we have a duel to liven things up? Huang Kuei raised his cup and strode out, his voice echoing throughout the area. Everyone was excited. The show was about to begin. Drinking wine was only one aspect of the gathering, but sparring was inevitable. Huang Kuei was the first to suggest it. Using martial arts to liven things up, of course. Sandalwood Fairy waved her hands, and inscriptions shone on the ground. A fighting ring appeared in an open space not far away. This fighting ring was originally refined by our seniors for sparring. It's sturdy and indestructible. You can use it to your heart's content. Sandalwood Fairy introduced. Thank you, Sandalwood Fairy. Huang Kuei smiled and stepped onto the battle stage. He glanced around and his gaze landed on Chu Kuang. Chu Kuang, you lost to me in the Battle of Luck. Half a year has passed, I wonder how much progress you've made. Do you dare to fight me? Why wouldn't I? Chu Kuang downed a cup of wine in one gulp and landed on the battle stage in a flash. Miss Zhong, what are Brother Chu's chances of winning? Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Zhong Wenjing. Zhong Wenjing's expression was grave. She transmitted her voice to Lu Ming. It's hard to say. Huang Kuei is the second genius of Coldblood Hall. He is very powerful. Back then, Brother Chu was defeated by Huang Kuei in the Battle of Providence. Although Brother Chu has improved over the past 6 months, Huang Kuei will not remain stagnant. So Huang Kuei is also from Coldblood Hall. Lu Ming's heart jumped. No wonder Sanguinarum had shouted at him to get out. Boom. At this moment, the two of them had already started fighting. The two powerful auras collided with each other, resulting in a violent explosion. Chu Kuang and Huang Kuei were both at the early stage of the 9th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Apparently, they had just broken through 10,000 miles of ice. Chu Kuang slashed out rays of saber light. The terrifying cold chi seemed to be able to freeze the entire Alchemy Academy. It's this move again, Blood Flame Claw. Huang Kuei's blood and chi boiled as he clawed out numerous claw lights. These claw lights reeked of blood, and a blazing heat burst forth from them. The blood-red flames and the ice continued to clash against each other. Sizzling sounds could be heard from the battle stage. The ice was melted by the flames, and mist filled the entire area. Yin Bupo waved his hand and the cold wind blew away the mist. Meanwhile, the geniuses of the outer domain had also heard the commotion. They all rose into the air and looked over. Chu Kuang is fighting with someone. His opponent is Huang Kuei, Hai Ziming said. Chu Kuang lost to senior brother Huang Kuei in the Battle of Providence. This time, Chu Kuang will definitely lose, a genius from Coldblood Hall sneered. That was then and this is now. I don't think so. Hai Ziming replied coldly. Really? Just watch. The Coldblood Hall disciple sneered. Coldblood Hall and Floating Mountain bordered each other, and their relationship was not good. In the central continent, the emperors stood side by side, and the various overlords fought for supremacy. They were not harmonious and had conflicts with each other. For example, Sky Eagle Fort and Coldblood Hall were mortal enemies. At the same time, the relationship between Coldblood Hall and Floating Mountain was not good. As the crowd discussed, the battle in the battle stage became more intense. The two had already exchanged more than 100 blows. Bloodthirsty Realm. Huang Kuei displayed a terrifying unique skill of Coldblood Hall, and a blood-red light screen exploded in all directions. Chu Kuang's expression changed drastically, and he quickly retreated. He seemed to be very afraid. Even though he retreated, he was still affected. The blood in his body boiled, as if it was about to leave his body. Blood Flame Emperor's Hand. Huang Kuei changed his move again, and his attacks became more violent. Chu Kuang had no choice but to use Bloodline Fusion. But then, Huang Kuei also used Bloodline Fusion. It turned out to be a blood-red claw, like the claw of some kind of creature. It was very powerful. The two bloodlines collided in the air, and soon dozens of blows were exchanged. But it was obvious that Huang Kuei was stronger and gradually gained the upper hand. In the end, Chu Kuang's bloodline was torn by the blood claw, and he reverted to his human form. He spat out blood and looked very pale. Huang Kuei also reverted to his human form and laughed. Chu Kuang, I think you're getting more and more useless. You lost faster than last time. You'll never be a match for me, ha ha ha. Huang Kuei laughed arrogantly, full of contempt. Chu Kuang's face was gloomy, and he did not say anything. Since he had lost, it was useless to say anything. It would only be more embarrassing. Ha ha, I told you that Chu Kuang would lose. You Floating Mountain has no one else to show except Jing Kongling. In the sky of the outer yard, the Sky Prides of Coldblood Hall sneered. Hai Ziming and the others looked a little pale. But the Sky Prides of Coldblood Hall were right. Floating Mountain was indeed slightly weaker than Coldblood Hall. Even among the overlords, there were strong and weak forces. Floating Mountain was considered weak among the overlords, while Coldblood Hall was obviously stronger. Chu Kuang walked down the battle stage with an ugly face. He came to Zhong Wenjing's side and sighed. Being defeated by Huang Kuei for the second time was a big blow to Chu Kuang. Brother Chu, it's normal to win and lose. Winning once doesn't mean you'll always win. I believe that you'll be able to defeat Huang Kuei in the future. Zhong Wenjing comforted him. Wenjing, I'm fine. Chu Kuang smiled and quickly adjusted his state of mind. Huang Kuei was still standing in the battle stage, looking proud and invincible. Finally, his eyes fell on Lu Ming, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Lu Shaoqing, do you dare to come up and fight? Huang Kuei shouted. He had his eyes on Lu Ming. Lu Ming was actually invited by Fairy Sandalwood to sit together with Sandalwood and the rest. This made him extremely jealous. Who was Lu Ming? How could he sit with Sandalwood Fairy and the others? How strong could a person who didn't even participate in the Battle of Luck be? Huang Kuei was sure that Lu Ming was not strong. Perhaps he was just lucky to know Sandalwood Fairy. Moreover, Lu Ming came with Chu Kuang. He wanted to defeat Lu Ming in public and humiliate him to prove that he was stronger than Lu Ming. In this way, he could also indirectly attack Chu Kuang. You want to challenge me? Lu Ming squinted at Huang Kuei and said indifferently. That's right. Do you dare to fight? If not, quickly admit defeat and get out of here. Huang Kuei smiled contemptuously. Hee hee, okay, I agree. But I won't take advantage of you. You've more or less exhausted in the battle just now. Let's fight again after you recover, Lu Ming said. No need. It's just dealing with Chu Kuang. It won't cost me much. And even if I'm exhausted, I'm confident that I can deal with you, Huang Kuei said confidently. Is that so? Up to you. Lu Ming got up, stepped out, and appeared in the battle stage. Everyone's eyes fell on Lu Ming. Chapter 1026. Even Jun Yu, Jing Kongling, and Kong Xin were looking forward to it. Even Sandalwood Fairy was looking forward to it. She invited Lu Ming to take a seat because she recognized that Lu Ming was the one who stole the medicine. She was curious about how he could move freely in the formation without any spirit fire, so she invited Lu Ming to take a seat. She also wanted to see how powerful Lu Ming's real abilities were. That's Lu Shaoqing. In the air above the outer court, Hai Ziming, Ling Yunkong, and the rest were shocked to recognize Lu Ming. It's that brat, the one who went in with Chu Kuang. Haha, an unknown brat dares to fight with senior brother Huang. I bet that he'll be completely destroyed by senior brother Huang within 10 moves. 10 moves? I don't think he'll even take 5 moves. Several talents from Cold Blood Hall sneered. Don't be so full of yourself. Hai Ziming replied coldly. He had fought with Lu Ming before, and felt that Lu Ming did not use his full strength. Maybe he could fight with Huang Kuei. I'm not being full of myself, but there's no doubt about it. The talents from Cold Blood Hall looked confident. In the fighting ring, Lu Ming and Huang Kuei stood opposite each other. Come on, Lu Ming said lightly, looking as if he was as calm as the clouds and wind. Humph, stop pretending. I'll make you show your true form soon, Huang Kuei sneered. His figure flashed, and a blood-red claw light shot toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not even look at it, and struck out with his palm. A 5-colored light flashed on his palm. Bang! The palm and the blood-red claw collided, producing a cracking sound and a muffled groan. Huang Kuei quickly retreated to the other side of the fighting ring, his face extremely ugly. One of his palms was trembling slightly, and one of his fingers was deformed. The whole place suddenly fell silent. Lu Ming actually forced Huang Kuei back with one palm, and even broke one of his fingers. How could his battle strength be so terrifying? So you do have some skills. I was just careless just now. Next, I'll suppress you. Huang Kuei's voice rang out. His deformed fingers began to twist and recover. Whoosh, whoosh. His figure flashed repeatedly, pouncing towards Lu Ming. Blood Flame Emperor's Claw. Huang Kuei continuously clawed out hundreds of times. Endless blood-colored claw lights flooded towards Lu Ming. Every claw radiance was terrifyingly sharp. It was suffused with a blazing aura and possessed the terrifying power of burning and corroding. Bloodthirsty Realm. At the same time, Huang Kuei unleashed the Bloodthirsty Realm. He executed many of his ultimate skills at the same time. Huang Kuei wanted to use this move to defeat Lu Ming in one fell swoop. He wanted to ruthlessly humiliate Lu Ming and avenge his broken finger. Is this the bloodlust technique of Cold Blood Hall? Compared to the devouring power of the 9 dragons, it's far inferior. Lu Ming thought to himself as he felt the blood in his body trembling slightly. The bloodthirst grand art could indeed affect the blood of others and weaken their battle prowess. However, it had no effect on Lu Ming. The devouring power circulated, and the blood flow stabilized. Bam! Lu Ming took a step forward and chopped down with his palm again. This time, the power of his palm was more than 10 times stronger than the previous one. The space distorted and exploded. The bloodthirsty realm collapsed like tofu. The claw radiance that filled the sky disappeared without a trace under Lu Ming's palm. Crack! Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking and a shrill scream, a figure retreated rapidly. Huang Kuei, it was Huang Kuei again. At this time, one of his palms was completely deformed. The bones in his fingers and palm were all broken and shattered into hundreds of pieces by the terrifying power. Hiss, gasps could be heard from all around. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming had beaten Huang Kuei to such a state with ease. He had completely crushed Huang Kuei in a crushing manner. Lu Ming actually had such battle prowess. This was too terrifying. Brother Lu's cultivation has broken through, Chu Kuang muttered. He felt that Lu Ming's cultivation had broken through. Previously, he was at the 8th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Now, he was at the 9th level. When Lu Ming was still at the 8th level of Spirit Embryo Realm, he could already faintly suppress him. Now that his cultivation had broken through, he was indeed even stronger. Huang Kuei himself was also in disbelief. Lu Ming's strength was far beyond his imagination. Lu Shaoqing, let's call off this battle. You have the upper hand. However, I am indeed exhausted from the battle with Chu Kuang just now. Let's fight another day. Huang Kuei shouted. He was obviously afraid. You want to fight and you don't. Have you asked for my permission? Lu Ming sneered. He took a step forward and appeared in front of Huang Kuei in an instant. This Huang Kuei was really laughable. Before the battle, he said that he wasn't exhausted and that it was more than enough to deal with Lu Ming. Now that he saw that the situation wasn't right, he wanted to call off the battle. He even used the battle with Chu Kuang as an excuse. Lu Ming was too lazy to talk nonsense with him and directly chopped with his palm. Huang Kuei was alarmed and used all his strength to block. However, he was sent flying the next moment. The bones of the other hand claw were also broken. The next moment, his bloodline burst forth and he transformed into a blood-colored claw. However, Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared in front of the blood-colored claw, chopping down with his palm. The palm suppressed everything and collided with the blood-colored claw, giving off a violent boom. The blood-colored claw then collapsed and transformed back into Huang Kuei's figure. Bam! Bam! Lu Ming executed 9 Dragon's Heaven trampling steps and stepped down towards Huang Kuei. Stop! In the pavilion, Sanguinarum stood up and shouted. His blood chi soared into the sky. However, Lu Ming only glanced at him casually and ignored him. He continued to step on Huang Kuei's body. Huang Kuei screamed miserably and fell heavily on the stage. The stage rumbled and Huang Kuei's bones cracked. He then laid on the stage like a dead fish, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood and twitching all over. Crushing, a complete crushing. The surroundings were completely silent, not a single sound could be heard. In the sky above the outer yard, the geniuses who saw this scene were all dumbfounded. Huang Kuei, a third-class genius, was stronger than Chu Kuang, but he was like a piece of trash in front of Lu Ming. He was easily crushed and beaten into a dead dog. What kind of combat strength was this? Was Lu Ming a second-class genius? Hai Ziming, Ling Yunkong, and the others gasped in fear. They finally realized that Lu Ming did not use his true strength when he fought with them. Otherwise, they would have been in deep trouble. The geniuses of Cold Blood Hall were tongue-tied and could not say a word. They had previously said that Huang Kuei could crush Lu Ming in 10 or even 5 moves. However, the truth was completely opposite. Lu Ming had beaten Huang Kuei into a dead dog in less than 5 moves. Senior brother Huang Kuei might have exhausted himself in the battle with Chu Kuang. After a long while, a genius from Cold Blood Hall spoke. However, his words were met with a collective disdain. The battle between Lu Ming and Huang Kuei was not as simple as genuine essence consumption. It was a complete suppression of combat strength. Even if Huang Kuei was at his peak, the result would be the same. Even a blind man could see that. Not only them, but the geniuses of the inner yard were also stunned. Chapter 1027. As for Jing Kongling, Zhun Yu, Kong Xin, Yin Bupo, and the others, their expressions were solemn. Lu Ming's battle prowess was close to their level. Amazing. Sandalwood Fairy's eyes shone with excitement. Brat, I told you to stop, didn't you hear me? Sanguinarum's face was gloomy as he glared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming glanced at Sanguinarum indifferently and said, This is my battle with Huang Kuei, you told me to stop. Who do you think you are? When Lu Ming's voice was heard, the entire place suddenly fell silent. Not only the inner courtyard, but the outer courtyard as well. Many people widened their eyes in shock. Who do you think you are? Lu Ming actually dared to talk to Sanguinarum like that. Does he want to die? Chu Kuang, Zhong Wenjing, and Hai Ziming sucked in a breath of cold air. Not good. Chu Kuang and Zhong Wenjing's faces changed, revealing a worried expression. Although Lu Ming was strong, he shouldn't be Sanguinarum's opponent. After all, Sanguinarum was a second-grade prodigy. The difference between a third-grade prodigy and a second-grade prodigy was huge. Just like the Emperor God, if he used his full strength, he could kill Bloodsword One in a few moves. Sure enough, cold killing intent burst out from Sanguinarum's body as he stared coldly at Lu Ming, laughing in anger. Haha, brat, you actually dare to talk to me like that? Do you really think you're invincible just because you have some battle prowess? I'll let you know who I am right now. Who do you think you are? You'll pay a heavy price for what you said. With that said, Sanguinarum's figure flickered and appeared on the stage. Terrifying killing intent filled the air, causing many people to shudder. Everyone was shocked. Sanguinarum was going to attack Lu Ming. He wanted to kill Lu Ming. In the pavilion, Jing Kongling frowned and said, Sanguinarum, you've gone too far. If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. After all, Lu Ming had come with Chu Kuang and Zhong Wenjing. As the #1 sky pride of the floating mountain sect, Jing Kongling naturally couldn't watch as Sanguinarum killed Lu Ming. Jing Kongling, are you going to meddle in other people's business? Sanguinarum said coldly. So what? Jing Kongling stood up. His body was surrounded by mist, making him look even more ethereal. Miss Jing, there's no need for you to do anything. I alone am enough to deal with a bloodbat. Lu Ming's voice rang out again, leaving the others speechless. Lu Ming said that he was going to deal with Sanguinarum alone, and he even had a confident expression on his face. Where did his confidence come from? Hehe, Sister Kongling, I think there's no need for you to interfere. Maybe there'll be a surprise. Sandalwood Fairy smiled. She was even more curious about Lu Ming now. Jing Kongling's gaze shifted, and then he sat down without saying anything else. Lu Shaoqing, right? It's good to be confident, but you'll soon find that your confidence can be very stupid sometimes. Seeing Jing Kongling sit down, Sanguinarum's killing intent became even colder. Is that so? Lu Ming smiled faintly and kicked Huang Kuei, who was still twitching, off the fighting ring. This action made Sanguinarum's face darken again. How dare he do this in front of him? This was a slap to his face. Boom. A powerful aura burst out from Sanguinarum's body, and a layer of blood-red flames danced wildly. This blood-red flame was extremely terrifying. It was even more shocking and strange than the Wang family's pure purple heavenly fire. Lu Ming's face darkened slightly, and his genuine vitality ran wildly in his body. He dared not be careless in front of Sanguinarum. After all, he was a genius at the same level as an emperor god. Blood-gathering heavenly saber, endless blood-red flames condensed into a saber. Sanguinarum held the saber with both hands, and his body rushed madly toward Lu Ming. He chopped down with the saber. A terrifying force pressed down on Lu Ming. The power of this saber alone had surpassed Huang Kuei's. The five-colored essence covered his body, and Lu Ming operated the hell-suppressing skill. He strode forward and struck out with his palm. Boom. The saber radiance and the palm collided with each other, creating a terrifying boom. Lu Ming's body swayed, and he retreated several steps. Lu Shaoqing retreated. His no match for him. I knew it. His no match for first senior brother. As soon as Lu Ming retreated, the geniuses of Cold Blood Hall began to ridicule him. It's just the beginning. What's the hurry? Hai Ziming responded coldly. Whoosh. At this moment, Sanguinarum chopped at Lu Ming again. His battle strength is indeed strong. Then I'll increase the power of the hell-suppressing skill. With a thought, Lu Ming struck out his palm again. This time, Lu Ming did not retreat. He held his ground. Blood-gathering heavenly saber, 9 slashes of heavenly saber. Sanguinarum roared, and his blood-red heavenly saber moved unhindered. Each strike was stronger than the last, and each strike seemed to be able to destroy everything. With a dragon roar, Lu Ming broke out 2 streams of dragon force. His strength increased greatly, and his palms continued to strike out. Boom, boom, boom. The fighting ring kept shaking, and a terrifying force shot out in all directions. In the blink of an eye, Dozens of strikes had passed. The scene was silent. Everyone stared at the two men in the fighting ring with their eyes wide open. How can he be so strong? The disciples of Coldblood Hall were shocked. They had thought that Sanguinarum could easily suppress Lu Ming, but now they realized that they were wrong. Lu Ming could actually fight Sanguinarum to this extent. Jing Kongling, Jun Yu, and the other second-class geniuses looked grave. Lu Ming could fight Sanguinarum to this extent, which meant that he was qualified to join the ranks of the second-class geniuses. Moreover, they could see that Lu Ming's cultivation was at the early stage of the spirit embryo realm, while Sanguinarum's cultivation was at the peak of the spirit embryo realm. The fact that Xue Luozi was unable to gain the upper hand despite having a higher cultivation base was shocking. Sanguinarum became more and more surprised. Lu Ming's battle strength was beyond his expectations. Bloodthirsty realm. Sanguinarum used the bloodthirsty technique. A light curtain spread out and enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming's blood was boiling. Sanguinarum used the same move, but it was much more powerful than Huang Kuei's. You're showing off in front of an expert when it comes to devouring power. Devour. Lu Ming's left palm exploded with a terrifying devouring power that enveloped Sanguinarum's entire body. At this moment, Xue Luozi's eyes widened in disbelief. Bloodthirsty intent. No, this power is 10 times more terrifying than bloodthirsty intent. My essence, blood, vital essence, and even my artistic conception are all vibrating. What kind of power is this? What kind of secret skill is this? Sanguinarum's mind raced. Sanguinarum was stunned. Lu Ming would not let go of this opportunity. He instantly attacked Sanguinarum with his palm like a heavenly knife. Not good. Sanguinarum hastily slashed out with his knife and clashed with Lu Ming's. The knife light was shattered by Lu Ming's palm, and the terrifying power landed on Sanguinarum's body. Sanguinarum spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated quickly. Bloodline fusion. Sanguinarum used bloodline fusion as he retreated, exploding with his strongest battle strength. 4 strands of dragon energy. Lu Ming also exploded with 4 strands of dragon energy. Chapter 1028. Squeak Squeak. The Sanguinarum transformed into a blood-winged heavenly bat and let out a scream. A terrifying invisible sound wave spread out towards Lu Ming. Enveloped by the sound wave, Lu Ming felt his eardrums rumble and his heart beat faster. This was the blood-winged heavenly bat's innate secret skill. It was extremely terrifying. Those with low cultivation would have their hearts shattered by the sound wave. Circulating the true dragon art, his true yuan was like a dragon, guarding his body against the external sound wave. Lu Ming soared into the sky and charged towards the blood-winged heavenly bat. The blood-winged heavenly bat screeched and pounced towards Lu Ming, starting the battle again. Qi energy shot out in all directions. The two were still tied and it was difficult to determine the winner. Second-class prodigy. Lu Shaoqing is actually a second-class prodigy. Ling Yunkong muttered to himself in the air of the outer yard, his face pale with fear. There was no doubt that Lu Ming was a second-class prodigy. His combat ability was terrifyingly powerful. At the thought of how he had gone against Lu Ming in the past, Ling Yunkong's back was drenched in cold sweat. It was obvious that Lu Ming did not go all out because he was wary of the Xiao clan. Otherwise, he would have ended up in a miserable state. Back then, he was forced by Lu Ming to swear a blood oath to never go against the Xiao clan again. He still harbored resentment and wanted to find an opportunity to take revenge. But now, it was like a basin of cold water had been poured on him, extinguishing all his thoughts. Take revenge on Lu Ming. What a joke, he was courting death. If Lu Ming went all out, he could kill him with one finger. He secretly decided that he would find an opportunity to apologize to Lu Ming in the future and admit his mistake. At the same time, he would appease the Xiao clan 10 times more and build a good relationship with them. Hai Ziming, Wu Kong, and those who had dealt with Lu Ming smiled bitterly. They knew that Lu Ming had been merciful previously. The other geniuses of the Coldblood Hall were all pale and did not say a word. It was the same in the inner yard. Those third-class prodigies also did not say a word, but they knew that another second-class prodigy had appeared. Brother Lu. Chu Kuang smiled bitterly and shook his head. He had previously thought that Lu Ming might be stronger than him, but he never thought that Lu Ming would actually be so much stronger than him. Like I said, this guy might bring me a surprise. In the pavilion, Sandalwood Fairy smiled. It's indeed a surprise. I didn't expect such a person to appear after the Battle of Providence. Jing Kongling also nodded. Jun Yu's, Yin Bupo's, and the others' faces became even more solemn. They knew that from now on, they would have another powerful opponent on their path. In the sky, Lu Ming and Sanguinarum had already exchanged more than 100 blows, but they were still evenly matched. Sanguinarum was indeed very strong. He was definitely on the same level as a monarch god. However, Lu Ming was different from before. Lu Ming had comprehended an additional essence during the Battle of Providence, and his battle strength had greatly increased. Now, Lu Ming could fight Sanguinarum to a draw without using bloodline fusion. If he used bloodline fusion, he would have no problem suppressing Sanguinarum. However, even without bloodline fusion, Lu Ming could still suppress Sanguinarum because he had the primordial stone. It's time to end this. Lose. Lu Ming roared, and the genuine essence in his body circulated wildly as he used the hell-suppressing heaven skill with all his might. Boom. He struck out with his palm, and the genuine essence in his body was completely absorbed. Use all your divine-level martial techniques. Sanguinarum roared, gritted his teeth, and flapped his wings continuously like two heavenly blades. There was no doubt that Sanguinarum had also comprehended a low-grade divine-level bloodline martial technique from his bloodline. However, just like Lu Ming, he couldn't use it completely because he didn't have enough genuine essence. At this moment, when he saw Lu Ming use his full strength, he could only use his full strength to resist. Boom! The two terrifying attacks collided, and an earth-shaking rumble resounded. Space warped rapidly, and in the end, a pitch-black hole was actually blasted open, revealing a pitch-black space. The two of them erupted with their full strength and collided with each other, and they actually pierced through space. Piercing through space was something that could only be done at the spirit god realm. This meant that the strength of the collision between the two of them had already reached the spirit god realm. This was an extremely shocking thing. A huge rumble resounded, and the two of them retreated extremely quickly. However, Lu Ming only retreated a few dozen meters before he stopped and stood in the air. Not only was the genuine essence in his body not exhausted, it was in an absolutely full state. Just a moment ago, he'd absorbed the genuine essence within the origin stone. Sanguinarum was unable to maintain his bloodwing bat form, so he transformed back into his human form and retreated an entire 100 meters before barely stopping in midair and gasping for breath. Could it be that it's going to end in a tie? Jing Kongling spoke in a low voice. They were naturally able to discern that both of them had erupted with their full strength and executed divine-level martial techniques with their full strength. Obviously, both of their genuine essence had been exhausted. Both of them were probably powerless to continue fighting. Lu Shaoqing, I admit that you have some ability. Let's consider it a tie today. If we fight again in the future, I'll definitely defeat you, Sanguinarum said. A tie? Who said it's a tie? Lu Ming sneered. You don't want a tie. Our genuine essence has already been exhausted, so it's meaningless to continue fighting, Sanguinarum said. Who said my genuine essence has been exhausted? A ridiculing smile hung on the corners of Lu Ming's mouth as the genuine essence within his body circulated swiftly, and a formidable aura erupted with a bang. Bang! Bang! At this moment, Jing Kongling, Jun Yu, Kong Xin, and the others could no longer remain calm. They all stood up from their chairs and looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming still had genuine essence. He still had the strength to continue fighting. How was this possible? Impossible. Sanguinarum's eyes were also filled with disbelief. Lu Ming had erupted with his full strength and executed a divine-level martial technique. It was impossible for him to have the strength to continue fighting. What was going on? A primordial stone? You have a primordial stone? Sanguinarum's pupils shrank as he shouted. Only a primordial stone could replenish one's genuine essence in an instant. Otherwise, Even the best spiritual pills would take some time to recover genuine essence. It was impossible for it to be so fast. The others also came to a realization. They didn't expect Lu Ming to have such a treasure. Lu Ming didn't deny it. He stepped forward and closed in on Sanguinarum as he sneered, "Our battle isn't over yet." Boom. Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed toward Sanguinarum like a stream of light. Damn it. Sanguinarum roared and used the last of his strength to retreat. But he had exhausted his genuine essence. How could he avoid Lu Ming's attack? The terrifying palm power blasted Sanguinarum's body. Sanguinarum screamed as countless bones in his body were broken. His body fell to the ground of the alchemy department. Boom. Sanguinarum smashed a large hole in the ground. Smoke and dust filled the air. "I'll kill you." Lu Ming rushed over with a murderous look in his eyes. Everyone was shocked. Lu Ming wanted to kill Sanguinarum. If he really did kill Sanguinarum, the higher-ups of Coldblood Hall would go crazy. "Stop." With a roar, a blood-red light slashed down from the sky towards Lu Ming. Chapter 1029. The blood-robed old man's aura was shocking to the extreme. He was actually a domain spirit god. There was actually a domain spirit god from the Coldblood Hall nearby. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. It seemed that the most powerful geniuses of the various forces had bodyguards around them and powerful figures were secretly following them. For example, Jing Kongling, Yin Bupo, and the others might have experts following them from the shadows. This kind of person was known as a protector. They protected the growth of these geniuses. Because a genius like Sanguinarum was too rare. Not every generation could produce such a genius. It was impossible, and only one would appear in many generations. Once such a genius died in battle, it would be a huge loss. "Young man, don't push your luck. Accept what's good for you." The blood-robed old man glanced coldly at Lu Ming, causing Lu Ming's entire body to go cold. The blood-robed old man was absolutely terrifying. He was absolutely not someone an ordinary domain spirit god could compare to. Lu Ming frowned and didn't say anything. The blood-robed old man stretched out his hand and grabbed the unconscious Sanguinarum from afar. His figure flashed, and he transformed into a ray of blood-red light that left this place. His mission was only to ensure Sanguinarum's safety, and he wouldn't attack Lu Ming. Lu Ming was so strong. Who knew what power stood behind him and if there were any experts following him? The blood-robed old man didn't want to cause trouble for himself. Huff. Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. These geniuses of the various powers really aren't simple. They actually have such an expert following them. The blood-robed old man gave Lu Ming extremely strong pressure. If they fought, Lu Ming wasn't confident at all in his ability to escape. After Sanguinarum was taken away, Lu Ming returned to the inner court. "Brother Lu is truly a peerless genius. I admire you." As soon as Lu Ming returned, Fairy Sandalwood raised her cup to Lu Ming and smiled sweetly. "Fairy Sandalwood, you're too courteous. I only took advantage of the origin stones," said Lu Ming. Since the others had guessed it, there was nothing for him to hide. Jun Yu, Yin Bupo, and the others looked at Lu Ming with slightly solemn expressions. Lu Ming's combat strength was extremely strong, and he even had the origin stones. They were probably no match for him. However, they weren't too worried. So long as they broke through to the domain spirit god realm, their true origin would be extremely abundant, and they wouldn't be afraid even if Lu Ming had the origin stones. At that time, "Brother Lu," said Yi Shin Shin Shin, "Brother Lu, let me toast Lu." Brother Lu Ming. Kong Shin, who was dressed in white, raised his wine cup and smiled. "Brother Kong." Brother Lu Ming. Lu Shin. Only when they saw Lu Ming's strength did they truly treat Lu Ming as someone on the same level as them. Although Fairy Sandalwood had invited Lu Ming to sit with them, they looked down on Lu Ming and didn't take Lu Ming seriously. They were all rare geniuses in the world and were arrogant. They wouldn't take geniuses who weren't on the same level as them seriously at all. Even if they were friendly on the surface, they still looked down on them deep down. But now, Lu Ming had won their attention. Strength was everything. It's really a great era now. There are so many geniuses. I thought that after the Battle of Providence, all the geniuses would have appeared. I didn't expect that even after the Battle of Providence, someone like Brother Lu would still appear. Looks like I've been too complacent. I should keep working hard. Otherwise, I won't be surpassed by all of you. Kong Xin was a rather forthright person, and he sighed with emotion after drinking a cup of wine. Brother Kong is right. In this great era, if we don't advance, we'll fall behind. During the Battle of Providence, Long Chen stepped into the domain enlightened spirit god realm and shocked the world. But some time ago, I heard that Xian Yanjuan stepped into the domain enlightened spirit god realm as well. Jun Yu sighed with emotion. What? Xian Yanjuan has stepped into the domain enlightened spirit god realm as well? Fairy Sandalwood, Jing Kongling, and the others were shocked. It's absolutely true. I heard the seniors mention it as well. Moreover, Yang Potian has broken through to the domain enlightened spirit god realm as well, Kong Xin said with an extremely solemn expression. Jing Kongling and the others gasped and were extremely shocked. Lu Ming was extremely shocked as well. The people Kong Xin and the others spoke of earlier were the 5 great figures of the central continent. Among them, Long Chen was even known as the #1 genius in the world. He was pitilessly powerful and had broken through to the domain enlightened spirit god realm during the Battle of Providence. He was undoubtedly the #1 genius in the younger generation of the central continent. Xian Yanjuan and Yang Potian were also 2 of the 5 great figures of the central continent. Now, all of them had broken through to the domain enlightened spirit god realm. All of these great figures were less than 30 years old, yet they'd already reached such a level. It was truly terrifying. Especially Xian Yanjuan. When Lu Ming was still very weak in the eastern wasteland, Lu Ming had met Xian Yanjuan once. She was Xian Yanqing's older sister. Lu Ming was shocked when he heard Xian Yanjuan's name in the beginning. Now, he was even more shocked. He hadn't expected that Xian Yanjuan had already broken through to the domain enlightened spirit god realm. Xian Yanjuan was the #1 genius of the ancient sacred dynasty Xie clan, and she was pitilessly beautiful. She wasn't just one of the 5 great figures of the central continent, she was also one of the 5 great beauties of the central continent. Such a figure was truly pitilessly rare. Lu Ming had always suspected that Xian Yanjuan had concealed her cultivation when he met Xian Yanjuan. Xian Yanjuan and Yang Potian have broken through to the domain enlightened spirit god realm. I wonder how the other 2 are doing. Jing Kongling sighed with emotion. The other 2 she spoke of were the other 2 of the 5 great figures. They were peerless geniuses of the demon race. I don't know. I haven't received any news, but I'm guessing that the other 2 are absolutely not weak, Kong Xin said. The expressions of everyone present were slightly solemn. The 5 great figures of the central continent had broken through to the domain enlightened spirit god realm one after another. They understood that the younger generation of the central continent was about to step into the era of domain enlightened spirit god realm. The figures of the younger generation would start to catch up and even surpass the figures of the older generation and walk to the peak of the continent. The pressure on them was extremely great, extremely great. In the eyes of some other geniuses and geniuses, every single one of them was high and mighty, and they were targets that they had to chase up to. However, when they stood at such a height, they looked at things from a different perspective. They looked at geniuses of the same level or even geniuses of a higher level, such as the 5 great figures of the younger generation. Only by comparing oneself with those who were more powerful would one feel pressure and motivation to constantly surpass oneself and achieve breakthroughs. Everyone drank and chatted at the same time. Sometimes they talked about martial arts, sometimes they talked about some secret news. Lu Ming learned a lot of things that he had never heard of before. After 3 rounds of drinking, everyone stood up and said goodbye. Thank you, Sandalwood Fairy, for giving me so much good wine. I'll take my leave now and return to the World Academy to cultivate in seclusion. Otherwise, I'll really fall behind. Kong Xin cupped his fists at Sandalwood Fairy. Brother Kong, you're welcome. Sandalwood Fairy smiled. Brother Lu, we hit it off today. If you have the chance in the future, you can find me at the World Academy. Then, Kong Xin looked at Lu Ming. Sure. Lu Ming said with a smile. Kongshin nodded and stepped into the air. Then, Yin Bupo and Jing Kongling also left. Sandalwood Fairy, I'll take my leave too. Lu Ming cupped his fists and turned to leave. Brother Lu, please wait a moment. Why don't you stay and have a drink with me? Chapter 1030. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat when Sandalwood Fairy called out to him. The others were also surprised. Some third-class geniuses looked at Lu Ming in surprise. Sandalwood Fairy actually invited Lu Ming to stay behind and have a drink with her. What was the meaning of this? Could it be that Sandalwood Fairy had taken a liking to Lu Ming? At the thought of this, many young men stared at Lu Ming with burning eyes, full of envy and jealousy. Lu Ming secretly complained in his heart. Most likely, they were going to ask about the incident of him stealing the medicine. Haha, Brother Lu, Wenjing and I will take our leave first. Chu Kuang cupped his fists at Lu Ming and Sandalwood Fairy. His eyes blinked hard at Lu Ming with a look of admiration. Lu Ming was speechless. He didn't want to stay behind. Soon, everyone left. Only Lu Ming and Sandalwood Fairy were left at the scene. Brother Lu, from the looks of it, you seem very reluctant. Is Sandalwood so unattractive? Why is Brother Lu in such a hurry to leave? Sandalwood Fairy chuckled and looked at Lu Ming with blinking eyes. Ahem, you're too kind. Sandalwood Fairy's beauty is unparalleled in the world. It's my honor to be able to stay behind and have a drink with you. I'm afraid many people would be envious. Lu Ming coughed twice and smiled. Brother Lu, please. Sandalwood Fairy waved her hand. Lu Ming and Sandalwood Fairy took their seats. Brother Lu, I've never seen you before. I wonder which force you're from. Sandalwood Fairy poured a glass of wine for Lu Ming and asked curiously. I'm not from any big force. I followed my master since I was young and cultivated in the mountains. It wasn't until recently that my master let me out of the mountains. Lu Ming made up a story. Is that so? Then your master must be a famous expert. Otherwise, he couldn't have taught Brother Lu such an outstanding disciple. Sandalwood Fairy asked tentatively. Then, she raised her wine cup and took a sip. Her beautiful eyes glowed as she looked at Lu Ming. Sandalwood Fairy's face was slightly pale, but there was a sense of gentleness to her that made people want to protect her. They couldn't bear to touch her, and they had the impulse to tell her all their secrets. Now that the two of them were alone, facing such a beauty, Lu Ming couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. She took a deep breath and suppressed the feelings in her heart, calming herself down. The 5 beauties of Zhengzhou State really deserved their reputation. Fairy, Master's name is a taboo. He told me not to tell outsiders. Please forgive me. I will punish myself with a cup of wine. Lu Ming raised his wine cup and drained it in one gulp. Sandalwood Fairy giggled and did not ask any more questions. She continued to pour wine for Lu Ming. Next, Sandalwood Fairy and Lu Ming drank and chatted casually, but they never mentioned the theft of the medicine that day. After a long while, Lu Ming couldn't help but say, Fairy, the matter of the spiritual medicine that day was done by my pet. I didn't discipline it well. I will compensate you in full in the future. Sandalwood Fairy smiled slightly and said, some spiritual medicine is not worth mentioning. Brother Lu can take it. You don't need to compensate. What I'm curious about is not this. If I'm not wrong, Brother Lu doesn't have any spiritual fire at all, but you can come and go freely in my formation. I'm very curious about this. How did Brother Lu do it? Haha, luck, that's all luck. I was just walking around randomly that day. Lu Ming laughed and continued to talk nonsense. Sandalwood Fairy seemed to be dissatisfied with Lu Ming's answer. She rolled her eyes at Lu Ming. This look was coquettish and angry, with a sense of hidden bitterness. It made Lu Ming's heart beat fiercely a few times. In front of such a beauty, in front of such a gaze, how many people could be as calm as water? Unless they weren't men. Lu Ming was naturally a normal man. However, Sandalwood Fairy didn't ask much. Everyone had their secrets. Since Lu Ming didn't want to talk about it, it wasn't good to ask. The two chatted for a while more. Lu Ming said goodbye to Sandalwood Fairy. Brother Lu, Come find me in Medicine King Valley when you have time, Sandalwood Fairy said. Definitely. Lu Ming cupped his fists and left the alchemy department. After leaving the alchemy department, Lu Ming let out a long breath. Although Sandalwood Fairy looked weak, the pressure she gave off was not small. Lu Ming could feel that Sandalwood Fairy's martial cultivation was very low. However, her mental strength was incomparably terrifying, like a turbulent ocean. The pressure she gave off was stronger than Sanguinarum, Yin Bupo, and the others. I'm afraid Sandalwood Fairy has lit 10 mental strength lamps. Otherwise, she wouldn't give off such a strong pressure, Lu Ming whispered to himself. Although he defeated Sanguinarum, he didn't dare to underestimate the other Sky Prides. Those who could become second-class Sky Prides had the potential to become sovereigns. None of them could be underestimated. Moreover, even among second-class Sky Prides, there were strong and weak ones. Shaking his head to get rid of these distracting thoughts, Lu Ming returned to the inn and met Chu Kuang and Zhong Wenjing. Brother Lu, we plan to return to the floating mountain for closed-door cultivation for a while. What about you? Where do you plan to go? Chu Kuang asked Lu Ming. I plan to travel and cultivate while heading to the ancient Saint dynasty, Lu Ming said. All right. Take care, Brother Lu. We'll meet again if we have the chance. Chu Kuang, Zhang Wenjing, and Lu Ming bid farewell and left not long after. Not long after Chu Kuang and Zhong Wenjing left, Lu Ming also left Elixir City and headed towards the west. After leaving Elixir City, Lu Ming leaped into the air and flew away in an instant. However, after flying for tens of thousands of miles, Lu Ming frowned and stopped. This was because ever since he left Elixir City, he vaguely felt that someone was following him. Who is it? Come out. Lu Ming's gaze turned to the back. Hehe, your spiritual senses are quite sharp. With a sneer, two figures stepped into the air and appeared in front of Lu Ming. Cold Blood Hall's spiritual gods. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows and a hint of seriousness appeared in his eyes. They were two middle-aged burly men. One was bald, and the other had a big beard. They wore blood-red robes. Most importantly, Lu Ming could not see through their auras at all. They were definitely not spiritual embryo realm martial artists, but spiritual god realm martial artists. There were actually two spiritual god realm martial artists following him from Coldblood Hall. Do you want to avenge Sanguinarum? Lu Ming asked as the true core in his body began to circulate. He did not dare to be careless in the face of spiritual god realm martial artists, let alone two of them. He. It's one thing to avenge young Master Xueluo. Young Master Xueluo said that you have mastered a secret technique that has a powerful devouring power. Hand it over and perhaps we'll let you die a quick death. The bald man sneered. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It turned out that Sanguinarum had taken a fancy to his devouring technique. That was indeed the case. Coldblood Hall's devouring technique was somewhat similar to the Nine Dragons' devouring technique, but their effects were vastly different. Sanguinarum was naturally tempted. It won't be that easy to kill me, a hint of madness flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Is that so? You're really confident. However, no matter how talented you are, you're only in the spiritual embryo realm. Now, I'll show you the difference between the spiritual embryo realm and the spiritual god realm. The bald man's eyes flashed fiercely, and then he said to the bearded man, I'll attack, and you'll hold the line. How about that? Sure. Chapter 1031. Boom. A terrifying aura burst forth from the bald man's body. Boundless blood-colored light danced around his body like flames, making him look like a demon that had crawled out from hell. He was incomparably sinister. Roar. 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 Inside Lu Ming's body, there were continuous dragon roars. There were 6 dragon roars consecutively. Facing a spirit god expert, Lu Ming didn't dare to hold back and burst forth with 6 dragon powers. Lu Ming's body couldn't withstand the power of 6 dragon powers exploding together. His body became even more sturdy as purplish gold scales drilled out from under his skin and covered his entire body. His claws also became like dragon claws. The bald man's pupils contracted and he sneered, insignificant skill, blood axe strike, chop. The bald man took a step forward and the blood-colored light around his body condensed into a blood-colored battle axe. He waved the battle axe and chopped down at Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming clenched his fist and executed hell-suppressing heaven skill. He burst forth with 5 types of concepts at the same time and punched towards the bald man. The fist and the blood axe collided and gave off a terrifying tremor. The space warped rapidly and a sinister crack appeared. After a loud bang, Lu Ming's body trembled and he retreated frantically. He took several steps in the sky and made the sky explode. He only stopped after retreating 100 meters. However, that was all. Lu Ming wasn't injured. On the other side, the bald man's body also trembled and he retreated a few steps. Impossible! The bald man roared in anger and his eyes were filled with disbelief. The big bearded man was the same as he looked at the scene in disbelief. Lu Ming had actually forced the bald man to retreat. How was that possible? Lu Ming was only at the early stage of the 9th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. How could he have such terrifying battle power? You were still holding back when you fought with young Master Xue Luo? The bald man's eyes were filled with astonishment which then turned into cold killing intent. 1st level of Spirit God. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This bald man was at the 1st level of the Spirit God realm, and Lu Ming estimated that the bloodline he had awakened shouldn't be too high. He stared at the bald man without replying. Brat, don't think that you can fight me just because you blocked one of my moves. Die, die. The bald man flew into a rage out of humiliation. His killing intent surged like a tide. He held the blood axe in his hand and continuously chopped at Lu Ming. Lu Ming unleashed the suppressing hell heavenly art, unleashing a barrage of attacks as he engaged in a fierce battle with the bald man. Boom! 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 Horrifying explosions rang out continuously. Lu Ming circulated his 5 states to their limits, frantically blocking the attacks. Although he was completely at a disadvantage and was suppressed by the bald man, he managed to resist. After a dozen exchanges, Lu Ming was forced back several thousand meters. That bearded man was still behind Lu Ming. Boom! Another move. After a huge boom, Lu Ming retreated, spitting out a mouthful of blood. In the end, he'd been injured, but his eyes were extremely bright. Ha ha ha. This is the combat strength of the domain enlightened Spirit God realm? It's nothing much. Lu Ming roared with laughter and mocked intentionally. This bald man's combat strength was probably at the bottom of the domain enlightened Spirit God realm. In the domain enlightened Spirit God realm, even if they were at the same level, the difference in combat strength would be extremely great. For example, existences that had comprehended God rank martial techniques were much stronger than those that hadn't. On the other hand, this bald man hadn't comprehended a God rank martial technique, and he'd only utilized a high-grade half-God rank martial technique. Besides that, the comprehension of concepts and the level of bloodline determined the strength of one's combat strength. This bald man wasn't very strong in all aspects, and that was why Lu Ming was able to resist him. Otherwise, if it was a 1st-level domain enlightened Spirit God realm expert that had comprehended a God rank martial technique, then Lu Ming would absolutely be unable to resist him. Damn it. Kid, you're courting death. The bald man roared furiously. He'd actually been underestimated by Lu Ming, underestimated by an ant at the Spirit Embryo realm. This made the bald man go mad. A blood-red battle axe floated above his head, and it had 3 golden chakras coiled around it. A 3rd-grade God rank bloodline was considered to be an extremely low-level bloodline amongst domain enlightened Spirit God realm experts. The bald man transformed into a blood-red battle axe and slashed at Lu Ming with even more terrifying might. Are you the only one with a bloodline? The hell-suppressing Steely's bloodline appeared above Lu Ming's head, and his 5 chakras flickered. Lu Ming transformed into the hell-suppressing Steely and erupted with the hell-suppressing heaven art to collide with the blood-red battle axe. Boom! A world-shaking rumble resounded as the hell-suppressing Steely was blasted flying. The blood-red battle axe was blasted back as well. Damn it! Attack together and cripple him. The bald man roared loudly. Kill! The bearded man shouted as a blood lion appeared above his head. It was also a 3rd-grade God rank bloodline. He transformed into a blood lion and pounced at Lu Ming. He clawed at the hell-suppressing Steely and slapped it away. The hell-suppressing Steely trembled non-stop. Despicable and shameless. Two domain-enlightened spirit gods actually joined forces to fight me. Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by the world if this spreads out? Lu Ming shouted loudly. As long as I kill you, I'll know. Kill. The blood-red battle axe instantly arrived in front of the hell-suppressing Steely and slashed at Lu Ming. Suppress. The hell-suppressing Steely glowed. This time, Lu Ming erupted with all his true essence and executed the hell-suppressing heaven art. The true essence in his body was instantly sucked clean. Clang. The hell-suppressing Steely and the blood-red battle axe collided, and both of them retreated a few hundred meters. Lu Ming did not have any quintessential essence left in his body, but the quintessential essence in the primordial stone gushed into Lu Ming's body, replenishing his quintessential essence. Lu Ming's quintessential essence was full in an instant. Kill. You must kill him. The bald man's heart was filled with shock, and he was extremely shocked. Sanguinarum told him that Lu Ming's combat strength was at most a bit stronger than his. But now, he realized that Lu Ming's combat strength was more than just a bit stronger than Sanguinarum's. Lu Ming was able to block his attack and even send him flying. This was unbelievable. Roar. The blood lion roared and charged at Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming had just retreated, so he didn't have time to counterattack. The blood lion's claw landed heavily on the hell-suppressing Steely, and the Steely collapsed instantly. But at the moment when the Steely collapsed, a dragon roar sounded and a true dragon flew out. No, it wasn't a true dragon, but 9 dragons. 9 dragons? The blood lion turned pale with fright. He actually saw the legendary form of 9 dragons. Lu Ming unleashed his 9 dragons bloodline the moment the hell-suppressing Steely's bloodline was destroyed. He transformed into 9 dragons and flew out. The 9 dragon claws stepped through the air and blasted towards the blood lion with terrifying force. The blood lion was shocked and couldn't unleash his full strength, so the 9 dragons rushed past him. Let's go. Lu Ming didn't hesitate to use the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps to escape the encirclement. With his current combat strength, he still wasn't a match for a spirit god. He wouldn't even be a match for 1, let alone 2. If he continued to fight, he would only die from exhaustion in the end. Damn it. Chase him. The blood-red battle axe transformed back into the bald man and chased after Lu Ming with a furious roar. The blood lion also transformed back into human form and chased after Lu Ming. Chapter 1032. After a few 100,000 kilometers, Lu Ming charged into a mountain forest and transformed into his human form. A spear condensed in his hand, and the spear started to spin rapidly like a drill. Lu Ming charged into the ground, and the spear drilled a hole in the ground. Lu Ming charged in while his true essence burst forth at the same time, causing the hole behind him to collapse and seal it up. Lu Ming kept drilling underground, and he only stopped after drilling for around 50 kilometers. With a thought, Lu Ming appeared within the mountain and river diagram. There was only one mountain and river diagram in the depths of the ground. As soon as Lu Ming entered the mountain and river diagram, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Earlier, he'd been struck by the blood lion twice in succession, and he'd still suffered quite heavy injuries. The domain-enlightened spirit god realm is really formidable. I'm not even a match for the most ordinary domain-enlightened spirit god realm expert. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. The bald man and large-bearded man were absolutely at the bottom of the domain-enlightened spirit god realm, and they were inferior in all aspects. However, Lu Ming was still not a match for them and was slightly inferior. Earlier, he'd already erupted with his strongest combat strength and used all his abilities. Even then, he was still at a disadvantage when facing the bald man alone. Unless he executed the hell-suppressing heaven art with his full strength and executed his strongest attack, only then would he be on par with the bald man. However, Lu Ming's strongest attack would exhaust his true essence after executing a single move. If it wasn't for the origin stones, he wouldn't dare to use it at all. Once I break through to the consummate stage of the spirit embryo realm, I won't be afraid of the weakest domain enlightened spirit gods, and I'll even be able to suppress them. Lu Ming summarized his strength. After that, he circulated the true dragon of battle and started to heal his injuries. Right after Lu Ming entered the mountain and river diagram, the bald man and the large bearded man appeared in the sky above the mountain forest. Damn it! Why did that kid's aura vanish? The bald man roared furiously. He's probably gone into hiding. Let's force him out. A cold light flickered in the large bearded man's eyes as he blasted his palm downwards. An enormous blood-red palm print that was 10 kilometers in length and width blasted towards the ground as it covered the sky. Boom! The mountain peak exploded, and the ground caved in. On the ground, a huge palm print that was 10 miles wide and 10 miles deep appeared. Around the palm print, countless cracks spread out in all directions like a spider web. Countless demonic beasts were turned into ashes by this palm. Then force him out. The bald man waved his hands, and countless terrifying blood-red light slashed toward the vast land. Boom! 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 Mountain peaks exploded one after another, ancient trees collapsed, and the earth caved in. Countless living beings were turned into ashes under the attacks of the two of them. This region was like the end of the world. The destructive force of a domain enlightened spirit god's full strength was truly too shocking. Soon after, everything within a range of 1,000 li became a mess. The great earth was split apart and pierced through. All kinds of deep pits and fissures covered the entire area. The mountains that were originally full of vitality had become deathly still. More than 10 minutes later, the bald man and the bearded man stood in the air with ugly expressions. There was no trace of Lu Ming, nor was there any trace of Lu Ming. Lu Ming had fled just like that. They were two dignified domain enlightened spirit god realm experts, and they originally thought it was a matter that was in the bag. Yet now, Lu Ming had fled, and they didn't know how to explain it to Sanguinarum when they returned. Damn it! I'll definitely skin him alive and pull out his tendons the next time I see him. The bald man gnashed his teeth. Forget it, let's return. The ancient herb garden is more important. After spending so much time, it's finally about to be opened, said the bearded man. The bald man nodded, and then the two of them flashed out and left this place. 50 kilometers underground, Lu Ming was recuperating with all his might within the mountain river diagram. One day later, Lu Ming's injuries had already recovered. Earth concept seems to have loosened slightly. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. After the battle from before, Lu Ming noticed that his Earth concept that had fallen into a bottleneck had finally loosened, and it showed signs of breaking through. Immediately, Lu Ming placed the Enlightenment ancient tree beside him, closed his eyes, and comprehended with all his might. In the blink of an eye, 2 days passed. 2 days later, 5 colored concepts surrounded Lu Ming's body, and his aura was even stronger than 2 days ago. Earth concept has finally broken through to level 3 perfection. Lu Ming opened his eyes, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Now, the water concept was at level 4 entry, and the wind, fire, thunder, and earth concepts were all at level 3 perfection. Now that Lu Ming had unleashed all 5 concepts, his power was even stronger than a few days ago. Because previously, the earth concept was only at level 3 greater mastery. If I were to face Sanguinarum now, even if I don't fully unleash the hell-suppressing heaven skill and bloodline, I can still suppress him. Lu Ming thought in his heart. It's been 3 days, those 2 guys should have left by now. Let's go out and take a look. With a thought, Lu Ming came out of the mountain river diagram, and then continued to condense a long spear. He drilled into the ground and went to the surface. Soon, Lu Ming appeared on the surface silently. Looking at the mess and desolation around him, Lu Ming was speechless. He knew very well that the bald man and his companion must have wantonly destroyed the surroundings in order to find him. Looks like they've already left. Humph, Sanguinarum, I'll settle this score sooner or later. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes, and he was about to go to the west. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes moved, and he looked in the direction of the south. In an unknown distance, a green beam of light shot up into the sky. What's that? Could a treasure have appeared? Lu Ming was secretly surprised. Spiritual herbs, I can feel the aura of countless spiritual herbs. Go, Lu Ming, go. Dandan appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder and shouted while his little eyes glowed. All right, let's go take a look. Lu Ming's figure flashed towards the beam of light. At this moment, the beam of light could be seen in an area of 50,000 kilometers. The beam of light shot into the sky. A treasure has definitely appeared. Let's go take a look. Let's go, this is my great fortune. Everyone who saw the pillar of light from all directions rushed towards it. Haha, this fortune is mine. A crimson-haired old man with a soaring aura charged towards the beam of light. Surprisingly, he was a domain god. The appearance of a treasure had drawn the attention of everyone. In next to no time, Lu Ming approached the area of the beam of light. It was a boundless expanse of mountains and forests. Hey, it's actually here? Lu Ming stopped in midair and was slightly surprised. Lu Ming was very familiar with the forest ahead because he, Chu Kuang, and Zhong Wenjing had passed through this forest on their way to the Sky Pillar. They had even met a domain god expert of Coldblood Hall here, who had massacred an entire town to heal his injuries. Lu Ming and the other two had also fought a great battle with him. Lu Ming had originally headed west, but he had chosen a random direction when he fled after the battle with the bald man. He did not expect to come here. Could it be that the injured domain god expert of Coldblood Hall was related to this beam of light? Did Coldblood Hall discover some ruins here? Chapter 1033. That injured domain enlightened spirit god from before was in this forest, and now, that pillar of light was in this forest as well. So, Lu Ming had no choice but to link the two together. Looks like even if there are treasures here, it isn't so easy to obtain. There's definitely a domain enlightened spirit god here, Lu Ming thought to himself. However, he didn't retreat just like that. He restrained his aura instead, descended into the forest, and dashed towards the pillar of light. Swoosh, swoosh. When he was about to approach the pillar of light, the sound of air being torn apart resounded from other directions, and then Lu Ming noticed 3 robust men and 2 old men. Their figures were moving forward with extreme speed, and they charged into a circle of light. They were cultivators that had been drawn over from the surroundings. What a large grand formation. When he approached the pillar of light, Lu Ming sensed that he was enveloped by an extremely enormous grand formation. There was a gap at the side of the grand formation that formed a circle of light, and the green pillar of light had erupted from this gap. Extremely dense spirit energy effused out from the gap. Obviously, a gap had been broken open in the grand formation. Lu Ming, it's very likely that there's a medicinal garden here. I smell the smell of spirit herbs. Dandan's nose twitched as he sniffed with all his might. A medicinal garden? Could it be the Medicine King Valley's medicinal garden? Lu Ming was shocked. The Medicine King Valley wasn't far from here, so Lu Ming immediately thought of the Medicine King Valley when he heard about a medicinal garden. It shouldn't be. This grand formation is very terrifying, but an extremely long time has passed since it was set up. According to my guess, it's probably over 1 million years ago, said Dandan. Over 1 million years ago? Lu Ming was shocked. Wasn't 1 million years ago during the ancient times? This is an ancient medicinal garden. Come, let's go in and take a look. Lu Ming's figure flashed, and he charged into the circle of light and vanished. The ancient medicinal garden was sealed off by a grand formation. So many years had passed, so perhaps there were extremely precious spirit herbs within it, and Lu Ming didn't want to miss this opportunity. Inside the circle of light, there were also mountains and forests, but the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was much denser, dozens of times denser than outside. Moreover, there was another type of energy within the spiritual chi, origin chi. Lu Ming looked around and found that the flowers, plants, and trees here were more lively and luxuriant. Lu Ming, let's go. I can smell the scent of spiritual herbs. Dandan yelled and sprinted forward with its short legs. Lu Ming followed Dandan as they moved forward, carefully observing their surroundings. We came too late. Some of the spiritual herbs have been dug out. Along the way, Dandan found a few pits and sighed. Judging from the remnant aura of the spirit herbs, it was very likely that they were all level 8 spirit herbs. Level 8 spirit herbs were dozens of times more precious than level 7 spirit herbs. It was clear that many people had already entered before, and the spiritual herbs had all been dug out. Dandan didn't go straight ahead. Instead, it flew to the left. After thousands of miles, they finally found 2 spirit herbs. Both were level 8 spirit herbs. Dandan dug them out happily and stuffed them into its mouth. Then, as they moved forward, they found many spirit herbs, all of which were at least level 7, and many of which were level 8. Lu Ming didn't fight with Dandan. He gave them all to Dandan. Now that his physical body had reached the complete level 8, ordinary level 8 spirit herbs would be useless if he wanted to break through to level 9. Only level 9 spirit herbs could help Lu Ming break through. It was not easy to cultivate a level 9 physical body, because it was the highest realm of the physical body, and also the foundation of breaking through to the martial emperor realm. Only by cultivating the physical body to the complete level 9 could one break through to the martial emperor realm. However, it was difficult to break through to the level 9 physical body, and even more difficult to reach the complete level. In fact, many second-class and even third-class geniuses in the Middle Continent had cultivated their physical bodies to the peak of level 8. After all, he was a genius from an overlord force. His physical body cultivation technique was definitely top-notch. It was not inferior to Lu Ming's 10,000 spirit battle body. In fact, it might even be better. Furthermore, he did not lack resources. Naturally, his physical body was strong. What Lu Ming needed were level 9 spirit herbs. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, a deafening roar came from the front. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. Someone was fighting. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming grabbed Dandan and went forward. In front of him, 2 elders were attacking another 2 people. One of them was a middle-aged man, and the other was a young woman. At this moment, the man and the woman were completely at a disadvantage. The 2 elders were both at the complete spirit embryo realm, and the middle-aged man was also at the complete spirit embryo realm. He was locked in a fight with one of the elders. On the other hand, the young woman was only at the 6th level of the spirit embryo realm. Although she was also a genius with strong battle power, she wasn't a match for the elder at the complete spirit embryo realm. She could be killed at any time. Miss. The middle-aged man roared angrily and wanted to help, but he was held back by the other party and couldn't leave. Hihi, die. One of the elders sneered. At this moment, Lu Ming had already approached silently. When he saw that the strongest was only at the complete spirit embryo realm, he instantly relaxed. Hey! That's Ju Xin. Lu Ming's gaze moved as he recognized the woman. Back in Pill City, it was Ju Xin who gave Lu Ming a purple jade that contained vitality stones. Lu Ming was quite grateful to Ju Xin. Now that Ju Xin was in trouble, he naturally wouldn't leave her in the lurch. Swoosh! He flashed out and rushed towards the elder who was attacking Ju Xin. Hearing the commotion, the few of them looked towards Lu Ming. It's you. Ju Xin's gaze moved as she recognized Lu Ming. A brat at the 9th level of the spirit embryo realm, you're courting death. The elder grinned and revealed a sinister look. His claws were like knives as he grabbed towards Lu Ming. Swoosh! Lu Ming waved his hand and a ray of spear light pierced out. It destroyed all the attacks and defenses of the elder and stabbed towards the heart of the elder's brows. No, spare my life. The elder was horrified. He knew that he had met a terrifying genius, but it was already too late. Puff! The elder was pierced through by the spear light and died. When the other elder who was fighting with the middle-aged man saw this, he was scared out of his wits and ran away. However, a ray of spear light flashed by and nailed the elder to the ground. This, Ju Xin was slightly stunned. From the moment Lu Ming appeared, the 2 experts with perfected spirit embryos were instantly assassinated by Lu Ming. They did not have the slightest ability to resist. Miss Ju, I didn't expect to meet you here. Do you still remember me? Lu Ming smiled slightly. Young Master Lu, I didn't expect you to be so strong. Ju Xin's beautiful eyes flashed as she was slightly surprised. To be able to kill 2 experts with perfect spirit embryo realm so easily, Jushin guessed that Lu Ming was most likely a third-class genius. Miss. The man came to Jushin's side and called out with concern. Uncle Liu, I'm fine. This is young Master Lu. Jushin introduced. Thank you for saving me, young Master Lu. The middle-aged man cupped his fists, but there was some vigilance in his eyes. Young Master Lu, are you also here to look for spirit herbs? Jushin asked. That's right. I was attracted by the light pillar, so I came to take a look. Chapter 1034. Be careful, young Master Lu. We've attracted a lot of experts this time. I'm just going to walk around the periphery. There are too many experts inside. Jushin said. Oh, do you need me to accompany you? Lu Ming asked. In his heart, he was grateful to Jushin. Back then, she had given him the Yuan receiving stone. If Jushin needed help, he would not refuse. No need. Uncle Liu and I are weak. If we go with young Master Lu, we'll be a burden to you. It's better if you go alone, Jushin said. Hearing Jushin's words, Lu Ming did not insist and bade farewell to the two of them. However, before he left, his devouring power erupted and devoured all the blood and vital essence of the two elders with perfected spirit embryo. Lu Ming did not want to let go of the blood and vital essence of two experts with perfected spirit embryo. After devouring, he continued to move forward. Jushin and the middle-aged man were shocked to see the two elders turn into two dried corpses. Lu Ming, that little girl seems to have something on. She doesn't want others to go with her. She purposely sent you away, Dandan said. Lu Ming nodded. He also had the same feeling. He felt that Jushin had something on and did not want to go with him. But this was someone else's private matter. He was too lazy to care. He continued to search for spiritual herbs. Before long, the energy of the two elders was completely refined by Lu Ming. Naturally, the level of his bloodline did not increase, and Lu Ming's cultivation did not increase at all. With my current cultivation, devouring martial artists with perfect spirit embryo is almost useless. The improvement is too slow. I can only improve quickly if I devour spirit gods. Lu Ming thought to himself. This area was very large. Soon, Lu Ming had traveled about 10,000 miles. Whoosh! A figure flashed past in front of him at a terrifying speed. It's him. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Lu Ming saw clearly that the figure was a bald man. It was the spirit god expert from Coldblood Hall who had chased after him. Sure enough, there was an expert from Coldblood Hall here. The bald man didn't notice Lu Ming. He kept flying forward and disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. After that, Lu Ming became more careful and slowed down a little. He kept running through the forest below. Along the way, Dandan's harvest was not bad. He had collected a lot of spiritual herbs, most of which were level 8 spiritual herbs. Dandan was grinning from ear to ear. This herb garden was an ancient herb garden. It had existed for a very long time. Coupled with the rich spiritual energy, it was normal for the level of the spirit herbs to be on the higher side. It was a pity that he hadn't found any level 9 spirit herbs. Level 9 spirit herbs were much rarer than level 8 spirit herbs. Suddenly, light began to flicker in front of them. Faintly, a sound could be heard. There's another great battle over there. Lu Ming's eyes flickered, and he quickly headed in that direction. Several hundred li later, Lu Ming appeared on a mountain peak and looked into the distance. Up ahead, there was a lake, and in the middle of the lake was a small island. A towering tree stood on the small island. The tree was rooted on the small island, but its crown was extremely huge. Its surface area was even larger than the small island. There were fruits on the tree. The fruits looked the size of a plate. They were fiery red and filled with surging energy. That's the vermilion sky fruit. Lu Ming recognized the fruit and was shocked. Then, he was overjoyed. The vermilion sky fruit was an extremely rare but extremely precious fruit. This fruit contained extremely powerful and pure energy. If a martial artist consumed it, it could help them break through to the next realm. As long as the concept of heaven and earth reached a certain level, Consuming this fruit could help one quickly increase their true essence and break through to the next realm. This fruit was too precious. The spirit embryo realm and the spirit god realm behind it weren't as simple as comprehending concepts. Some people had reached a certain level of concept, but their cultivation wasn't that easy to increase. For example, many second-class prodigies, such as Sanguinarum and Jun Yu, had reached the 4th level of concept. However, their cultivation was still stuck in the spirit embryo realm. From this, it could be seen that concepts were difficult to comprehend and increase one's cultivation. Even if Lu Ming had the bloodline of the 9 dragons, it would be troublesome for him to increase his cultivation unless he could devour spirit gods or refine large amounts of origin stones. However, once he obtained the vermilion sky fruit, his cultivation would increase rapidly. I must obtain this vermilion sky fruit. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. As long as he obtained a few vermilion sky fruits, Lu Ming's cultivation would be able to break through to the perfected spirit embryo realm. This was because his concept of heaven and earth had already met the requirements. However, he wasn't in a hurry because the vermilion sky fruit tree was protected by a large formation. A layer of light screen enveloped the vermilion sky fruit tree. 7 martial artists were constantly bombarding the light screen in an attempt to break the large formation. The light screen formed by the large formation trembled continuously as though it had been there for a long time. It's about to break. Someone's eyes flickered with a fiery glow as he looked at the others warily. They had joined forces to break the large formation previously. Now that the large formation was about to break, they began to harbor their own ulterior motives. Swoosh! Suddenly, a sword light flashed. One of the green-robed elders attacked an old woman beside him. "I knew you would make a move." The old woman gave a shout and waved both her palms, striking out palm prints as she fought with the elder. Wang! A metal rod swept out and struck towards the green-robed elder. The green-robed elder was caught off guard and was struck on the head. He didn't even have time to scream before he was killed. Courting death, kill. The one who's going to die is you. Before the large formation was broken, the remaining 6 people were in a complete mess as they started to fight each other. These people were all experts and were at least at the 6th level of spirit embryo realm. They were rogue cultivators that were attracted by the light pillar nearby. Once the battle started, in a few breaths' time, there were 2 consecutive screams as 2 people with weaker cultivations were killed. The battle between the remaining 4 people became even more intense. At this moment, a figure walked over in the air. Jing Kongling. Lu Ming was slightly astonished. The woman who walked over in the air was stepping on the clouds. Her entire body was shrouded in clouds, making her look like an ethereal fairy. If she wasn't Jing Kongling, who else could she be? Jing Kongling. The 4 people who were in the middle of a great battle were shocked when they saw Jing Kongling. They stopped what they were doing and had grave expressions. "The heavenly vermilion fruit is mine, you guys can leave." Jing Kongling's voice was very calm and ethereal. No emotions could be heard from her voice. "Jing Kongling, aren't you being too overbearing? We were the ones who discovered this heavenly vermilion fruit tree first and we are about to break the large formation. Now that you have appeared, you want to take it all for yourself. Aren't your appetite a little too big?" An old woman cried out. "You guys can stay forever," Jing Kongling said calmly, but the aura on her body flourished. A few streams of water appeared around her and transformed into true water dragons that danced around Jing Kongling. The 4 of them had ugly expressions on their faces. They were not willing to give up, but they knew that with their cultivation, they would die if they went against Jing Kongling. Jing Kongling was one of the top geniuses of the central continent. His combat strength was too strong. Hihi, these few trash indeed have to scram first. Chapter 1035. A red-haired old man appeared. His aura was violent as he stared at the vermilion heaven fruits with a burning gaze. "Venerable Kai Ku," the old woman exclaimed. The expressions of the others changed drastically as well. Even Jing Kongling's expression changed slightly as he revealed a solemn expression. Only spirit god experts could be addressed as venerables. The red-haired old man was a spirit god. "Now, these vermilion heaven fruits are mine. Scram! Venerable Kai Ku's gaze was filled with killing intent as he swept the surroundings. The expressions of the old woman and the others changed drastically as their eyes were filled with reverence. Venerable Kai Ku was very famous in the nearby area. He wasn't from a large faction but a wandering cultivator. It was very remarkable for a wandering cultivator to be able to cultivate to the spirit god realm. Moreover, Venerable Kai Ku was famous for being ruthless. Let's go. Although the old woman was unwilling, the vermilion heaven fruits were naturally not worth mentioning compared to her life. She gritted her teeth and left. The other three also left the place one after another. Only Venerable Kai Ku and Jing Kongling remained in the air above the lake. Jing Kongling, you're not leaving? Venerable Kai Ku looked at Jing Kongling. Venerable Kai Ku's name isn't enough to scare me, Jing Kongling said indifferently. You want to fight me? Venerable Kai Ku's eyes flashed. I can try, Jing Kongling said. Haha, young people these days are getting bolder and bolder. You think you're a match for me with your cultivation at the peak of the 9th level of the spirit embryo realm? Venerable Kai Ku sneered. Venerable Kai Ku had lived for thousands of years and had broken through to the spirit god realm for thousands of years. In the past, no young man dared to be presumptuous in front of him. After all, the gap between the spirit embryo realm and the spirit god realm was extremely huge. But now, a young man at the peak of the 9th level of the spirit embryo realm wanted to fight him. There's always a rumor in the world that the golden age of this era will be filled with geniuses. I don't believe that a mere 9th level of the spirit embryo realm can be strong. Venerable Kai Ku sneered as fiery red flames emerged from his body. A terrifying aura pressed towards Jing Kongling. Jing Kongling waved her hands, and more water dragons appeared around her, pouncing towards Venerable Kai Ku. Boom! 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 The flames collided with the water dragon, creating a sizzling sound. Water vapor filled the air, and the scene was immediately filled with fog. Jing Kongling's jade-like feet stepped into the air. Wherever she stepped on, vines would appear. The vines were like soft whips as they wrapped around Reverend Kai Ku. Fire Devil Palm! Venerable Kai Ku clapped his palms a few times and flames burst out. The mist in the sky was burned clean. The vines were also engulfed by the flames and burned to ashes. However, more vines appeared in the air. At the same time, the lake water below churned and turned into water swords, slashing towards Reverend Kai Ku. Boom! 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 Jing Kongling and Venerable Kai Ku exchanged a few blows, and surprisingly, Jing Kongling was not at a disadvantage. The concept of wood, the concept of water, the concept of shattering, and the concept of pure emptiness. He actually cultivated 3 concepts. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Jing Kongling's battle power was very strong. He was definitely not weaker than Sanguinarum. In fact, he might even be stronger. Break! Fire Devil God Fists! Venerable Kai Ku's fists bombarded out continuously. The flaming fist force swept out in all directions, fully displaying the terrifying strength of the spirit god realm. Wherever the fist force passed, the vines exploded and the water swords were annihilated. At this moment, Jing Kongling was finally at a disadvantage. An expert of the spirit god realm was too terrifying. Void-shattering palm! Jing Kongling shouted as he continuously struck out with his palms. The palm force that contained 3 concepts turned into blue crystalline palm prints that blasted towards Venerable Kai Ku. The sky shook continuously, but Jing Kongling was still at a disadvantage and was suppressed by the flaming fist force. However, at this moment, Venerable Kai Ku was extremely shocked. These prodigies are indeed terrifying. I've only heard of them in the past, but I didn't expect them to be even more terrifying than what I've heard. She's only at the 9th level of the spirit embryo realm, but she can actually fight me. Venerable Kai Ku was secretly shocked. At the same time, a cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. Since he had offended such a terrifying prodigy, he had to kill her. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble in the future. Come out! Venerable Kai Ku roared as his bloodline appeared above his head. He wanted to unleash his bloodline and kill Jing Kongling in one fell swoop. His bloodline was a large dog covered in flames. He was a hellhound. However, he only had 2 golden chakras. The bloodline of Venerable Kai Kuei was only at the 2nd level of the divine level. He was weaker than the bald burly man and the bearded burly man who had chased after Lu Ming. He was the weakest in the spirit god realm. After all, it wasn't that easy for someone with a 2nd level god realm bloodline to break through to the spirit god realm. Venerable Kai Kuei had only broken through to the spirit god realm by chance. His combat strength was truly at the bottom of the spirit god realm. That was why he didn't dare to offend the other spirit gods for so many years. However, he didn't expect that even a young man would be so powerful that he could fight him. Jing Kongling frowned slightly as a round pearl appeared above her head. Water vapor lingered around the pearl, and there were 8 golden chakras shining around it. At this moment, Lu Ming stepped into the air. Lu Ming walked out, instantly attracting the attention of the 2 of them. Lu Shaoqing. Jing Kongling's eyes lit up slightly when she saw Lu Ming. On the other hand, Venerable Kai Kuei frowned. Since he dared to walk out after seeing the 2 of them fighting, he couldn't be simple. He was already very fearful of these young geniuses. Miss Kongling, why don't we join forces? We'll split the vermilion fruits equally, Lu Ming said. All right. Jing Kongling agreed without hesitation. She was no match for Venerable Kai Kuei alone. She would probably have to retreat in the end. With Lu Ming's help, they might be able to fight Venerable Kai Kuei. Lu Ming had similar thoughts. Even if he did his best, he might be able to fight Venerable Kai Kuei alone. However, it was almost impossible for him to win. That was why he walked out and joined forces with Jing Kongling. If you want to join forces to fight me, I'll kill you first. Venerable Kai Kuei roared as he transformed into a hellhound and pounced at Jing Kongling. Jing Kongling also used bloodline fusion and turned into a bead. The bead expanded rapidly and blasted towards Venerable Kai Kuei with the sound of waves. At the same time, Lu Ming unleashed 4 streams of dragon force. His body was like a stream of light as he pounced towards the hellhound. He activated the suppressing Hell Heaven skill and struck out with his palm. Boom! Boom! 2 explosions sounded as the 3 sides collided. Then, the hellhound staggered back. Impossible! Venerable Kai Kuei roared. He was actually repelled by the combined forces of Lu Ming and Jing Kongling. How was that possible? He roared again and pounced towards Lu Ming and Jing Kongling. The bead vibrated and the waves roared. The bead seemed to contain the water of the sea. It was extremely terrifying and could crush everything. Lu Ming's palm contained the power of the suppressing Hell Monument and the 5 colors wills. It was extremely terrifying. Boom! Boom! The explosions continued, but in the end, the hellhound was at a disadvantage and was suppressed. This result shocked the hellhound. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.